Welcome to episode number 223 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on YouTube on March 29, 2018. A bunch of things to talk about this week, as usual. Among them, bulletproof children, a VR car, brands on HQ trivia, image optimization, a boring development, long-form audio, what gave you away, desperately seeking counsel, more Cambridge Analytica, leaving Facebook, and no more Lytro. Thiel kicks it off with the best story of the week. Thiel, what was that?
Well, I think that this is a pretty wonderful story. It's from Creativity. The reporter is Alexandra Jardine, and there's a new campaign and a website selling bulletproof vests designed for kids, but it's actually promoting a hidden message about gun control in America. And the landing page for the site, Bulletproof Junior Vests, asks whether your child is prepared, as you never know if another school shooting is around the corner. And then viewers can click on different styles of bulletproof vests for toddlers, preteens, and teens, all modeled by adorable smiling children and on sale for over $1,000 each. Then there are these chilling product details. The toddler vest claims that it plays nursery rhymes to, quote, soothe your child's pounding heart rate, for example, and it's machine washable, but hand wash only for bloodstains. And then meanwhile, the teen vest has integrated Bluetooth speakers, and they're all advertised as coming with a free replacement if shot within the first 2 months of purchase. And if you linger on the page or click to order one of the vests, this message pops up to say that kids don't need bulletproof vests. Instead, voters need to demand change. And visitors are then encouraged to tweet their senators via the site, and you just enter your zip code and they give you the contact information for your senator. And the campaign was a group effort by creatives and strategists and account people from multiple agencies, and they were inspired by the Stoneman Douglas High School students, and they wanted to put their skills to use for something good. And the team includes Jason Murray at YNR in New York, Ugendu Vyas and Caleb Kutori at 180 LA, and Chris Puma of Huge. And the headline is Bulletproof Vests for Kids, the next big thing in the Ad Age creativity story. And, you know, when you look at it, it's chilling. It really is. And very clever.
Clever, hilarious, and chilling, yet that's all at the same time, right?
Right.
And that's, you know, the political satire is part of that, is what that is. And
you have a good one.
Yeah, that's the best type of way to get your point across is doing exactly what they did. Good find, BL. Here, this is we talk a lot about VR, and another VR story. And this is pretty cool, I think. This is from a TechCrunch article by Matt Burns. NVIDIA has a GTC conference. I don't know what that stands for, but there you have it. And they did a demo of someone using virtual reality to remotely control a car in real life. So the driver was sitting on stage at this convention wearing an HTC Vive headset and seated in a cockpit-like car with a steering wheel. And then using NVIDIA's holodeck software, a car was loaded in the software, apparently the Lexus that was used in the Black Panther movie. And then on stage, a video feed appeared showing a Ford Fusion behind the convention center. And the driver in VR had seemingly control over the vehicle, managed to drive it slowly around a parking lot, navigated around a van, drove a few hundred feet, and parked the car. So imagine that, driving a car using virtual reality.
That's a little scary to me, too. But, you know, the other night, James Corden, I don't know if you're up that late, but James Corden was talking about how the issue with virtual reality is that it makes people nauseous. And so it confuses your brain, and makes your brain, tells your body that you're being poisoned. And that's why there's a lot of people who are not, it happened to me. Well, that's why people get nauseous and dizzy, because their body is not knowing how to handle this, you know? And so I would be very afraid of a car being driven by somebody Virtual
So
reality.
take your choice. Would you rather have it being driven by somebody in virtual reality, or would you rather have it being self-driven by, let's say, Uber?
Well, frankly, I'm for neither. I'd like to have a driver in the car in any case. But I don't know if you're obsessed with this game that so many people are, HQ Trivia. But a lot of people around the world, I think, stop at certain times of day because they have to play this game, and it's a wildly popular game. I mean, millions of people are playing it, and Warner Brothers and Nike have become their first sponsors, and of course, sponsorship was inevitable. And Warner Brothers made a $3 million deal with it's a live game show to promote 3 upcoming movies, and the movies. Studio promotion of Spielberg's, which I can't wait to see, Real Player One, was featured on the 28th of March in a game that offered a prize of $250,000 just one day before today when the movie opened. And HQ Trivia is going to promote the movie by including the sponsor's name and asking players related to the buzzed about movie questions about it. It's not yet clear if the trailer for the movie or a video ad is going to display. It's not yet clear how the advertising will happen. And Nike sponsored a surprise HQ Trivia game on Monday for a shared $100,000 prize to celebrate its annual Air Max Day. And they gave away 100 pair of sneakers during the game to commemorate the day that the shoes were first debuted March 26, 1987. This clever way to get in on a big trend and to reach millennials who are playing the game, but the game is like out of control popular. It lasts a few minutes and you can make $50,000 or no money or $5 but you can make something in the few minutes that you play, and it's about trivia and you have to have answers.
So are you Bitcoin mining at the same time as well?
No, I don't think so.
No, I hadn't heard of it. I'll check it out. This is for anybody who does search engine optimization, something should know, a new development. This comes from Search Engine Land's Michelle Robbins. Beginning today, Google image results will now include captions for each image, a minor change, but an important one. So the rollout is global. It'll be available for mobile browsers and the Google app on iOS and Android. So the caption will be displayed within the caption that is displayed with the image will be pulled from the title of the page. From Google's announcement, they say the extra piece of information gives you more context, so you can easily find out what the image is about and whether the website could or would contain more relevant content for your needs. So the introduction of that aspect of image results is likely to drive more click-throughs to websites that have those images show up in search results. However, there is an issue that webmasters should be aware of is there's a possibility that if you have unrelated images on a page and they get indexed in Google image results and your image shows up, and it shows a title of a page that is unrelated. So let's say we have a blog post for this show, and we're talking about Google image results, and it has an image based on the post. But we also have our own photos on this page, so our photos may show up in search result, but have the title of Google image search. So
wait, so
two unrelated
pick a title.
They just pick the title of the page and use that as the caption for the image. So there's a possibility that it could be completely irrelevant to the photo.
And it's only available for mobile, Dave?
That's as I understand from this article, yes.
Interesting.
So keep an eye on your image results is the lesson here.
Okay. Well, that's something that, we all do every day, and it's important to know that. So the Boring Company, the Elon Musk company, is going to sell life-size Lego bricks, maybe. So this is from a Verge story and Twitter, and on Twitter, it was Elon Musk himself announcing that his Boring Company is going to sell life-size Lego-like bricks made from excavated rock produced by the tunneling process that they have announced. And his full plans are completely unclear, but he promises that they'll be strong and lightweight. They'll come in kits, the first of which will be an Egypt-themed set for recreating the Sphinx, the pyramids, and more. Okay. However, as Sean O'Kane pointed out on The Verge, these tunnels don't exist yet. So Sean O'Kane said, it's unclear when these bricks or kits will be available or how much they'll cost. The Boring Company's currently only digging short preliminary tunnels in California and Maryland, so there's presumably not enough to start selling any of this upturned rock just yet. But the small company has big plans for tunnels around the country that are meant to facilitate debatably futuristic modes of transportation, so there'll be plenty of newly removed Earth if even half of those ever come to fruition. So Musk used the term Lego-like when he was describing the blocks, but that makes you wonder whether the notoriously litigious Danish toy maker is paying attention, because also they recently announced their own environmentally friendly blocks. So bricks. Yeah. Okay. So, Musk has a very good fix for stuff like this. If he runs into a problem, he changes the name of his product and rebrands it. But I mean, this one's just weird.
So a couple of things with that. One, I didn't realize that Lego was a litigious company.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, interesting.
It would have to be to protect the brand, really. I mean, it's such an iconic sort of brand. You would have to protect it,
I guess. The other thing is, what's his name?
Elon Musk.
I'm getting old. Elon Musk. Elon Musk so he's tunneled between some of his buildings before, and he's doing some tunneling in California.
Yeah.
Apparently just because he wants to get places faster. So it's a fascinating story, actually, because the tunneling process actually produces these bricks?
No, when they get the dirt, they're going to turn the dirt into these bricks. But I mean, where are you going to put the pyramids when you build them?
How big are the pyramids?
Well, that's not clear. That hasn't been explained. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where he can say anything and it becomes a story. Yeah. Anything he does is of interest. And it's so funny that he calls his company the Boring Company.
Yeah, well, this is not boring. This is an article. I'm going to talk about an article, but I want to talk about the service that is attached to the article. That's really the point of this next story. This is I came across a New York Magazine article called "Does Mark Zuckerberg Even Know What Facebook Is?" It's been out for a while. The article is a too long, must-read kind of thing, so we'll put a link to it in the show notes. But specifically, we'll put a link so that you can see at the bottom of the article that is too long to read. There is an embedded piece of audio from a company called Autumn, and so. Basically, the article the article is so long it takes about 35 minutes to read. So why read it when you can just listen to it? But the service Autumn is a long form journalism and audio. Basically, it's a subscription service. You pay $6.99 a month, and then you get access to a bunch of content partners. Among them, the New Yorker, New York Review of Books, London Review of Books, The Atlantic, Wired, BuzzFeed News, and on and on and on. But I thought it was a fascinating way, one, to offer a service to an extended long-form read online, but also the service itself points to the trend towards audio consumption of content. So another thing to keep your eye out in the audio marketing sphere.
That's really interesting that you get access to all those magazines. But in my own experience, when I miss a lot when
I do too.
I mean to read everything in the Atlantic, but there are a few magazines that I get just because I really want to make sure I read them because they're so good. And one of them is the Atlantic, one of them is Wired, one of them is the New Yorker. And I really read the New Yorker from cover to cover every week because it is wonderful reporting. But mostly by the time I get to the magazine, I've read a lot of it online. But and they also have online only features. But $6.99 to access all those things,
Yeah.
How much can we listen to and how much can we read? And it's all a little overwhelming. So tell us what happened in the desperately seeking counsel.
Yeah, so this is a great story. This is from I found it on Mashable. Marcus Gilmore writes about it. It is a Craigslist ad that has the title "Seeking Lead Attorney for Difficult Client," in parentheses, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. I'm just going to read the ad. So it's a Craigslist ad. Seeking a lead attorney to represent client involved in an ongoing federal investigation. Must be familiar with laws and procedures around discovery, executive privilege, international financing of licensed real estate, election law, and the Logan Act. Working knowledge of social media, especially Twitter, is a plus, as is a better than average understanding or knowledge of the adult film industry and a collection of Playboy magazines from 1985 to 2010. Must look the part, Gregory Peck or Tommy Lee Jones type. Prior appearances on Fox News a huge plus. No fatties. Must be prepared to work for a client who is very forceful and opinionated about his defense and his own best counsel. Basically, your job boils down to keeping him from testifying under oath and hoping the rest comes out in the wash. Ask about our other openings on our staff and submit your resume to be considered for potential openings in the near future, perhaps the very near future. Like hit refresh on your browser now. Now again. Compensation: client is a hugely wealthy man, hugely successful. Everyone says it. Employment type contract.
That's great. That's really great. But then I think it was yesterday that it was announced that Craigslist had stopped their personal ads. And also Reddit and Craigslist both stopped having personal ads because they're being abused and they're worrying about human trafficking and horrible things.
It's the result of a bill that passed regarding human trafficking.
Is that why?
Yep.
Okay, well, it's a good change, if you ask me. So does that bring us to bad news?
It does indeed.
So, this really, I debated where to put this. Dylan Curran wrote about what Facebook and Google really know about you and detailed it. And he shows you in a Twitter thread what Facebook and Google know. And, the bottom line is there's really not a lot you can do about most of it. And the cost of using a free platform is your data. You're the product that they sell to advertisers. And as he says, this is one of the craziest things about the modern age. We would never let the government or a corporation put cameras, microphones in our home or location trackers on us. But we just went ahead and did it ourselves because fuck, if I want to watch cute dog videos, that's the price. And he said, but what they know is mind-blowing. For example, this I did not know. Google stores information on every app and extension you use, how often you use them, where you use them, and who you use them to interact with. Who do you talk to on Facebook? What countries are you speaking with? What time do you go to sleep? And so check the apps you've given permission to and see what permissions they have. Facebook also stores what it thinks you might be interested in based off the things you liked and what you and your friends talked about. Somewhat pointlessly, Facebook also stores all the stickers you've ever sent on Facebook. The ha-has and all that. I have no idea why they do this. It's just a joke at this stage. I don't know. But what you can change, the apps you give permission to on Facebook and Google. But as far as your profile, the only way to trick Google is to go and take a look at a lot of things you'd never buy. This is my method anyway. Then put them in your shopping cart, which you then abandon. It's perverse, but it's fun. And you'll still see ads, but they'll be for, kind of crazy things. Just trick the machine a little bit. But, the bottom line is there's this hysteria right now about all of this. And, people are leaving and they're not going to leave for starters. And you gave this away. It's the way it is. And, clean up your permissions and move on.
Yeah, well, I mean, anybody who does database programming will recognize the potential of taking huge data sets and attaching one data set to another. And the hysteria is more about everything in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica story.
But
because that's not just just not privacy. That's engineering. That's
Right.
social engineering.
But as you know, you have to also look at the fact that the media has reason to want social media, which has taken a lot of their jobs, to you know, to fail, and it's not going to go away. So I mean, this will be worked out somehow. Maybe not by Facebook, but by somebody.
Yeah, well, I think the real solution is technology to serve your data to whomever you want and grant access on your side rather than them just taking it.
Won't they go out of business if we do that?
Yeah, or they just find the right audiences and get in. I mean, you know, it is the solution, the technical solution. Finding a business model around it is another question, but I think it could be, you could do it. Speaking of data, speaking of privacy, speaking of Cambridge Analytica, we talked a lot about that on the last episode. More news, of course, and it's all trickling out. I've been, as I've said, watching this story intently. This whistleblower, Christopher Wylie, has kind of blown the lid on everything. But there's a New York Times story by Nicholas Confessori and Matthew Rosenberg, who now there's one thing that I suspected when Trump got elected. What really scared me the most about Donald Trump being elected was giving him the keys to the surveillance state. So you have government who has all this data, and you have our spy agencies who have a lot of surveillance power, and you hand it over to a man who clearly has no morals and no compunction about using that to his own for his own purposes. We've got this Cambridge Analytica story that they helped him win the election. And the one thing I was putting the dots together of all these pieces, Robert Mercer, Steve Bannon, Facebook data. The one thing that you would want to add is the big Trump supporter, Peter Thiel, to the mix. So Peter Thiel, of course, was the co-founder of PayPal. His time at PayPal taught him how to use algorithms and develop algorithms, because as you remember, when PayPal first started, there's a lot of fraud on the platform, so they had to protect their customers, and so they used algorithms to determine when there's fraudulent activity. Thiel was a major backer of Trump, a huge donor for Trump, and still is a huge Trump supporter. He's a wild-eyed libertarian who's a prepper. He is buying citizenship in New Zealand because he believes the apocalypse is coming, and maybe he's helping it along. He's got a company called Palantir. Palantir is a defense contractor that works for the Pentagon and the CIA. It is a data analytics company that is they're positioning themselves as identifying terrorism, using online signals to identify terrorism and terrorists. So you take that, and if I'm Donald Trump and I want to surveil people, I connect as many databases as possible. So if you've got Palantir, who's got this database of information about terrorist activities, and you couple that with the Cambridge Analytica, and the story says that there are people from Palantir who were working with the Cambridge Analytica group, then if you have from Palantir a profile of people who are terrorists, and you match this to the Cambridge Analytica, all of a sudden you got domestic surveillance and profiles of people. Well, this person looks like a terrorist, so maybe we'll put them on a terrorist list. It's pretty scary when you get down the weeds. So
it's completely horrifying. Yeah. Except if they're white men who kill a lot of people, they're not terrorists.
Yeah, apparently, they aren't. They turned out to be that today. So that's a different story. So we'll put links to this article on the show notes. We'll also have the testimony by the whistleblower Christopher Wylie. We're learning this testimony before Parliament, not before our own congressional hearings. So
that's a very scary part of it. Yes, me, is that we're not having them here. Yeah. But along those lines, Alex Kantrowitz had a very funny tweet on Twitter. He said, "You got to love the people who are stepping away from Facebook on Instagram," and he had with that tweet, he had somebody on Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, saying, "I'm leaving. I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm deleting my profile, but I'm staying on Instagram because I love Instagram." So a lot of this is just so completely misunderstood, and it's hard to tell the news that's in the Onion from the news that's really happening. And you can sort of understand why people are confused, but you got to pay attention, folks. You really have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Things change very quickly, and Peter Thiel's a bad man.
My last one is not worst news, it's sad news. This is from an Axios article by Ina Fried and Lytro. The company that pioneered Lightfilled cameras is shutting down because they were unable to find a financially viable market for their Lightfilled technology. These Lytro cameras we talked about this in an episode long ago. You can refocus. You take a picture of an image and you can refocus any part of the image. So you could focus on something in the foreground after the fact, and then, I don't like that. Let's focus on something in the background. So it's really cool technology. The company is shutting down, and you
could do that after you took the picture?
After you take the picture, correct.
On the digital image?
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. But the company is shutting down. Many of their employees are headed to Google. It's their first product was a point and shoot camera that could refocus, as we talked about. They had a successor that was aimed at the prosumer market, which was more of an SLR style camera. The company had raised more than $200 million over the years, but alas, it is no more. Hopefully, Google has bought the technology and does something with it. But there you go.
Well, that's a sad one. I still use my Canon camera. I mean, not as much, but I use it. And when I want the pictures to be good, I use it because I have a wonderful camera. Does that bring us to shiny objects?
It does. What do you got?
I have one that's fun. This is just a nice story. This is a site called Petsby, and other pet apps have their owners talking about their pets and showing pictures of their pets. On this site, the only selfies you'll see are cats and dogs. There's no humans allowed. They got 2,000 downloads in the first week, and there were conversations on there about like how I met my human and how much fun it is to eat the content of the kitty litter, which if you have a cat, you'll recognize. And a dog, and a cat, you'll recognize. And it's just a sweet thing that you should, if you have a dog or a cat, or if you love them, you should have it.
Very good. Very good. If you have a dog or a cat, I'm sure you take plenty of pictures of them.
You can bet on that.
So you might be interested in this next app. We've talked about this before, but Google Lens is now available on the iOS devices. This is from a Verge story by Thiel. So Google is officially rolling out the Lens feature to Apple iOS devices over the next few weeks. It is embedded in the Google Photos app, so it is now a feature of the Google Photos app. So when you take a picture on your phone and it's open up your Google Photos app, you can tap on a new icon that is there, and the app will analyze the photo and look for information in it. So it's computer vision applied to Google Photos app. The Lens debuted last October in Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, and Google started rolling out the feature to all Android phones with Google Photos installed earlier this month. So now it's coming to iOS. I've been playing around with it. It works fantastic for business cards. So business cards, scan it and it'll recognize all the text and save it for you and can add it to your contacts. But it's a bit iffy with busy photos. So busy photos, it sometimes doesn't recognize stuff. I've took some less cluttered photos of like a diner in South Dakota when I happened to go down there, and it just had the sign. It recognized the place and gave me information about the place.
Did it really?
Yeah, yeah. So So the technology is still in development. Google does these things to learn more, so I'm sure they're just trying to get a bigger data set of images so they can improve the algorithms and everything. So I'm going to continue to use it, see how it improves. But if their Google Photos web application is any indication, it should be outstanding, because that stuff is just amazing. Upload your photos to Google Photos online, and it just categorizes everything for you. So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was at a Google event at least 3 or 4 years ago where they were talking about an app. Maybe this is the same thing. I'm not sure. They were talking about an app where, like, if you held it up to a flower, it would tell you what kind of flower it was.
That's the beginning of this. Yep.
That was the beginning of it, right? And so now it's actually online.
Well, it's in the Google Photos app, and it doesn't do it live. You have to take a picture and then go to your Photos app and select the picture and tap the button for it to examine the image. So it's not live, but it's the beginning of that, and that's where photography or cameras are going to end up on mobile cameras. There are two things: audio input and visual input. And your camera is going to be as much of an input device, or your phone is going to be as much of an input device as it is a tool for finding out information.
So this is sort of saying that desktops and laptops aren't going away.
I don't know about that. I think people still need that, and I'm in the market for a car. I'm not going to research cars on my phone.
Well, that's just it. I just read yesterday, like 87% of people who buy a car did the research online before they went into the dealership. And, I think that's more and more with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I just mentioned two trends, visual and audio, right? So let's wrap this up with some audio numbers. This is 1 in 5 Americans listen to audiobooks. This is from Pew Research. So Americans are spending their book consumption across several formats, but the use of audiobooks is rising. 74% of Americans have read a book in the past 12 months in any format, and that figure has remained largely unchanged since 2012. Print books remain the most popular format, with 67% of Americans having read a print book in the past year. And while shares of print and ebook readers are similar to those from a survey conducted in 2016, there's been a modest but statistically significant increase in the share of people who listen to audiobooks, from 14 to 18%. So overall, Americans read an average of 12 books per year, while the typical American has read 4 books in the past 12 months. Each of those figures is largely unchanged from 2011, but it's some interesting book reading data.
Wait, you just said that the average American reads a book a month? Is that what you said?
Americans read an average of 12 books per year. The typical American has read 4 books in the past month, so a little confusing in the
I have to say that I go through periods where I read 2 books in a week, and I go through periods where I don't pick up a book for a couple of months because I'm listening or reading online or, doing other things. But it feels so good to read a book.
Yeah, I've always got a handful of books going, but I'm a slow reader. A woman I work with, she was just like scanning web. We're talking about something. We're looking at an article online, and she's scanning through it, just going through it. I'm like, just hold on. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forget. People don't read as fast as I do." I'm like, I wish I could. I'm just a really slow reader. I don't know.
I'm really fast.
I wish I could do that.
Maybe that's why I remembered nothing. So that brings us to the end of episode 223 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And David Erickson, the charming co-host, is on Twitter as @DErickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and CreativePR.com/blog, both of which should be on your reading list, fast or slow. He's eStrategy on YouTube. I'm BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as @What'sNext. I blog at What's Next Blog. I'm What's Next Blog on YouTube. My business site is blochman.com, and I have a new venture called Funwalkers, license plates for mobility devices. And the show is BeyondSocialMediaShow.com, where you will find all of our 223 episodes and the show notes. And you will soon find the show notes and the video of tonight's show. And we are on YouTube, and we're on Twitter as BS Media Show, because we try not to take ourselves too seriously. And we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on iHeartRadio, and we're on smart speakers. How is that?
There you go.
I didn't say your name. And I'm not allowed to say it. We'll be back. We'll be back. Oh, next week, same time, same bat channel. And we thank you for watching tonight.
Thanks for watching.